And it says we're live. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yay! Yay!
Yay is right. Been a long week.
Yeah, it has.
Um, hope everybody's doing well. Let me just make sure. Yep, the mute is off on the um, live stream on YouTube, which is good because sometimes I forget to do that. And the next thing I know, it's like I hear myself and then I hear myself and then I hear myself again. It's like, ah. So, it's kind of wild and woolly. So this week, I do have an announcement to make, and I will do that a little later. I'm kind of excited. I hope you all will be too. But before we get into that, I'd like to talk about time tracking. There's another group that I belong to on Facebook, and there was a question that came up about how do you track your time? Most people, and this is all handmade business owners, this is all yarny people. Most of them said they do not track their time. I
Wrong, wrong, wrong.
I about fell over. Um, as as especially in this industry, y- you know, our time is really almost more of what we're selling than our final products. Or at least they have equal value because I mean it's not like we can just wiggle our nose and you know, it, dye 10 skeins of yarn or
Yeah.
have 30 cute little stuffed penguins, show up. If so, man, we'd all be making a killing. um, so, it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I was flabbergasted. Um,
You have to be able to know how long it takes you to do something if you want to be able to sell it and actually make money. Most people, terrible, terrible at underestimating their time and what it's worth too. So yeah.
exactly. And not only that, I mean, it, okay, let's face it, none of us are going to make six-figure incomes from a handmade business.
Nope.
Okay. And every time I see, something come up on Pinterest or Instagram or even here on Facebook that says, how I made a six-figure income from my handmade business. It's like, honey, who are you trying to kid? Because there's just no way. I mean, it, it takes if we're going to pay ourselves a fair hourly wage at the end of the day, we have to know how much time we're putting into our business. And all of that comes into that whole pricing scheme that we've been talking about over the last, well, month, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of I'm time challenged. Um, but you need to know how much time you put into something so that you can price it.
You look at it this way: you're not going to work for anybody else for $2 an hour. Why would you work for yourself for $2 an hour?
Or 50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
And let's face it. I mean, we're probably not going to be able to really sell our handmade items for what we ought to, simply because of where we live or what the market will bear or any of those extraneous things.
Yep.
And that's all fine and good. Maybe we're not going to make $15 an hour. Maybe we're not even going to make minimum wage in whatever minimum wage is in our state. But we still need to know how many whatevers we need to sell before our business as a whole starts showing a profit.
Yep.
And that profit is after we get to take money out for ourselves.
Yep.
Um, so for time tracking is like totally, totally important. I don't care if you use a piece of paper and just have a line for each day or two or three lines for each day with I started at X and I ended at Y and I was doing Z. Or if you actually use a time tracking app, um, and I use one called Toggle, Toggl. Um, it installs on, I can have it on my phone, I can have it on both my iPads, I can have it on the desktop of my laptop, and it also runs in Chrome browser. And you go in and you set up categories, and the categories are the different things that you do, whether it's actually, you're spending your time knitting, crocheting, dyeing, doing your books, um, working on social media, doing research, whatever all the different things that you end up spending your time on. And you just go in and you hit a little button and it says, what are you working on? And you type blah, 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 and you choose one of them categories. And it will it will come up after you've been idle for like 5 minutes and say, hey, did you forget me? It's also pretty smart. It will say, um, you've been idle for X number of minutes. Do you want to keep your original time and get rid of the idle time, which is like super? It's free, which is like even better. Um, because it's something that we don't have to spend money on.
Yeah.
Um, now, I I also use a tool for when I'm actually doing a knit or a crochet project, um, called Knit Companion.
Yep.
And that runs about what,
I
20.
think it's $10 a year. It is a subscription service,
Yep.
and they will come and ding you annually for that. But it's like $10 per device, and that's the only problem that I have with it is if I want it on my both on my phone and my Kindle or my tablet, that I have to pay a subscription for both of them. Uh,
No, wait a minute, no, because
no,
I don't think so, because I have it on both of my iPads, and I'm
hmm.
only paying one.
Hmm. I wonder what it is that it won't let me log in to the account that I use on my Kindle on my phone. So I took it off my phone so I wouldn't have to. But
Hmm.
that's odd. Anyway, I could be wrong. I can't figure out how to get one account to work on multiple devices. That may be me, but it is a paid for service,
It it
and
it could be the fact that you're using two different platforms.
uh, maybe. Probably. Now, I will say that when I got my new Kindle and my new phone, that it automatically when I installed the software, it automatically uh, uh, went and linked up So it didn't tell me that I had to pay for it again. I was worried about that.
Hmm.
So, but it may be because I'm doing it on multiple platforms instead of a single platform. But I
Uh,
do
uh,
have it on my phone and my Kindle. But it is $10 a year. I think it's $9.99 a year to use Net Companion. But it's a very, very, very good tool. I like it.
oh my God. And it has a built-in timer.
Yep.
I just don't know exactly how it works because it's not like I turn it on.
I'm not sure. I'll go and look at it later because I use it a lot. Um, because I don't print out patterns anymore.
Oh my God. It,
And I used to whenever I'd get one off Ravelry or what have you, and it's either a PDF or I'd convert it to a PDF. And I would just I go and slap it all in Dropbox. That way I can access it anywhere
yep.
that I've got an internet connection. And one of the neat things about Knit Companion is it will sync with your Dropbox and it will also sync with your Ravelry account. So you can go in and pull patterns out of there and turn them into projects in Knit Companion. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. But
And it
I think
doesn't take storage on your
and
device.
it doesn't take storage on your device. Well, I think when you turn it into a project, it does, but I mean, it's minimal because it's
It,
doing it from a PDF.
yeah, it's like teeny weeny, you know. I mean, it's like just little tiny drop in the bucket.
Well, now, and
Um,
I will say this that if you've got one of those patterns by one of those designers that has to include pictures with every step, and you've got something that's 36 pages long, it will take forever for it to load into the companion. And those are the ones that I actually do print out because it's just easier to deal with them that way. But I think the timer works by however long you're actually using Knit Companion. I
I
don't know if it does it by pattern or project is what it tells me.
actually I've discovered it does it by project.
It does it by project.
Yes, it's like if you spend, let's say you spend an hour working on project A and you say, okay, I've had enough of this. So you put it down, you close that project in Knit Companion, and you open up another project. Um, it it switches. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be super smart.
Yeah.
The software developer in me wants to know how it works. I have all of
It
those.
is a really neat piece of software.
I have all those why questions that make my husband sigh. It, and if you're an Android user, somebody suggested Knitting Buddy. It has not only a row counter but a timer too. I don't know anything about it. Like I don't know if it attaches to Ravelry. I don't know if it syncs with Dropbox. I just saw that somebody mentioned it. Um, but seriously, folks, track your time, especially you pattern designers.
Oh gosh,
Okay,
yeah.
I mean, you could easily spend and I'm thinking, 20, 30 hours, between writing the pattern and you running through its initial testing, you frogging, you swearing, going back and reworking something, I mean, you could, I mean, I can't even begin to fathom the number of hours.
Yeah.
Um, and you need to know how many hours that you put into that so that you can work calculations and know, okay, I have to sell X number of these patterns before I am really making a profit on it. Because
Yep.
if you spend even 10 hours, okay, at, and say you want to pay yourself a fair wage of $10 an hour. So, there's $100, okay, and you're selling that pattern for $2. That means you got to sell 50 patterns just to like break even. And if you're going to do, and I see so many people do this, you got a $2 pattern and you're going to give away it, it for free for the first X number of people, or there's a 50% off promotion. And it's like all of those little decisions affect how many patterns you literally have to sell for that one design before you really make a profit. So time is important. So that's all I'm going to talk about for time tracking at this point. It was just like, oh my God, it blew my mind. Okay, so here's the announcement. do, 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 do. I'm very tired and punchy today. I spent 10 hours at the greenhouse yesterday where it was about 100 degrees. I was running around in shorts and a tank top, and I was totally happy, but it was a long day. So I'm tired and punchy. But the big announcement is you've heard me mention and talk about teaching courses and blah blah blah, and how I wasn't sure I was going to do it and yada yada. Well, I decided this week that it was time to either, pardon the expression, shit or get off the pot. And had been in the over the last 2 years. Now it's been 2 years that I've been thinking about this. Um, so I had gone out and I had done the research because it's like I need a platform for the courses. It's not something that I want to try and run off the website because it's just going to take too much bandwidth. And it could potentially be really slow and it could be a huge headache. Um, so I went out and I've been researching the various course platforms, Thinkific, Teachable, and Kajabi, I think is how it's pronounced. Kajabi is totally out of my price range, unless, of course, I want to spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month. I think is what it goes
Oh,
for.
Jesus.
But it does everything. I mean
Yeah,
it.
if you're a great big corporation, I'm sure that's not a big issue.
It just does everything. Um, Looking at the price just made me go, "Ugh," because I don't want to be one of those people who is going to charge you $500 for a course, or $1,000 for a course, or 2 grand for a course. You know, having worked all the years that I have worked with small businesses, I know that that kind of stuff just is not in your budget. I mean, it just isn't. So Monday, I signed up for a free Teachable account, and while the front end looked really nice, that was the first one that I sent you the link to, Janice. The front end looked really nice, but the back end was kludgy. It was like I couldn't I couldn't figure it out. It just there wasn't a smooth flow to it. And then of course there was the dreaded thing that, as a longtime website owner maintainer, I clicked on a help link and it went to a 404 page.
No.
Nope, wrong. Um, so Tuesday, I signed up for the free version of Thinkific to take that for a test drive, and oh my, oh my God, it's smooth, easy. You almost didn't even have to like go look for any help. It just It just
Intuitive,
made
huh?
sense.
Yeah.
So, Yarny Bookkeeper is going to have a school. And I have three classes that are formulated in my head, but don't go getting crazy on me, people, because I need time to get this stuff into this platform. And if you knew what my days were like, you'd probably wonder how I managed to do all the things that I already do without taking on this course thing.
She
But
doesn't sleep.
I most certainly do. I'm in
Not
bed by
enough.
I am in bed by at least 10:30 every night. I'm up at 5 without an alarm. Unless, of course, I spend a 10-hour day at the greenhouse. I was in bed by 9:30 last night, and I actually slept until 6 this morning. Um,
I believe
but
it.
oh, yeah. But the three courses are one is on pricing, profit, productivity, and paying yourself. The other one is going to be, are you ready? Because everybody asked for this in my survey from last week in the group, how to design a bookkeeping system. I am going to give that one a whirl. Now, and then I have one that I have already done. I've actually done that course twice. It's a 10-part course, and it's that whole expansion of that little freebie, 10 things every handmade business owner should know. Um, that one's going to end up being probably 9 to 10 hours for you guys to complete. So triple that for me to get everything into Thankific. Um, and that one's probably going to be uh, the the latter, the last one that I do, because it is going to take so much time. First one I'm going to start out with is how to design a bookkeeping system. Then we're going to go to the pricing, profit, productivity, and paying yourself. And then that last one will be that really huge one. Like I said, I'm not going to be the person who charges you $500, $1,000, $2,000 for a course, but there is going to be a fee. Um, I don't have a set price yet, but there will be special discounts for members of this group. And those are going to be discounts that aren't available to the general public coming off Yearny Bookkeeper website. So that's what's on the horizon. This stuff may not come into fruition until, fall. But it will happen. Just realize that doing a course, whether it's a 10-part course or whether it's a 3, 4, 5, even 2-part course, it takes a long time to put all of that stuff together. And honestly, I'm kind of sort of questioning my sanity about, do I really want to take something else on? But hey, I'm still alive, kicking. My fingers still work.
And
Um,
a busy Nancy is a happy Nancy.
yes, yes. I am happiest when I have multiple things going, and I got enough things going.
Yeah.
Um, so I am. I'm happy, and we will get there. And just be patient, because I'm sick and tired of seeing non-bookkeeper people offering really shoddy, inaccurate, half truth bookkeeping advice
Yep.
all over the internet,
Yep.
especially when it comes to handmade businesses. Most of the time, it's a handmade business owner who thinks that her business is just like, or your business is just like hers.
Yep. I
And
know.
this is what she figured out how to do it. And it's like, holy crap, honey. If the IRS ever got hold of your stuff, you would be in for the most rude awakening.
Mhm.
So that's my news. I know you wanted to talk about the benefits of joining a local fiber art group
Well,
slash community.
there are lots and lots of guilds out there, knitting guilds, crocheting guilds, weaving guilds, spinning guilds. I'm very fortunate because the guild that is local to me that I'm a member of is a fiber arts guild, and it's made up of all sorts of people that work with fiber arts. We have people who raise their own sheep and alpaca and llamas and sell their fiber. And there are people, lots of spinners. That's how I ended up doing it, is because I have a spinning wheel. And I am self taught and only know a couple of draws. And I wanted to go and join and uh, meet other people that were more experienced and learn a little bit more about it. But there are people there that they knit, they crochet, they weave, they spin, they process fiber. Some of them don't do anything more than process the fiber from their animals. And there are felters and stuff. And it's really neat because you get together with a bunch of like minded people, some of them who have really diverse knowledge about fiber and the fiber arts. And they you get together once a month for the guild meeting, and they do all sorts of supplemental things. Some of them are just social events where people get together and they knit or crochet or spin or weave or do what have you. Did some volunteering at the local county fair last year doing a spinning demonstration. And there was me and another girl with her spinning wheel, and a couple of people with looms and just all sorts of stuff. And it was really neat because people would come over and watch and ask you bunches of questions. But you network with people, and they do several things every year. Like the Knitting Guild that I follow on Facebook, they're up in Cleveland, so I'm not a member because that's just too far for me to drive all the time. Although I've been going up there a bit. Um, and they get together about once a quarter and have local dyers and yarn stores and stuff come to their guild meetings with their wares, and you get introduced to people that you might not be aware of and yarns that you might not be aware of. And they also have my guild has several events every year where everybody gets together, and you can invite other people if you want to. And if you are a producer, you can sell your stuff there. And it gives you a really good idea of what other people are charging for similar items. And it gives you exposure to people in your community that are actually interested in that sort of thing. So you might find it within your best interest to look into local guilds and communities for things like that, especially if you're kind of confused about, uh, how do you go about selling your stuff without, having to track down a craft fair or something like that. Networking is really, really good for your business, and that's a good way to do
You're very lucky. It is something. One of the drawbacks of living in the sticks
it.
is um, there is a guild up here. It's more geared towards painters.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, if you're not a painting artist, you're kind of shunned. Um, it's very expensive to join. I
Most guilds are not. Now, I will say that the guilds around here, $25 a year dues, and you're done. How much do they charge for this for your dues at this thing?
I don't know. I looked at it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I just remember and and dug around, and it was like, seriously, I ain't paying that for this.
You should you should revisit that because a lot of these things tend to evolve and morph. Because the guild that I belong to, the Fiber Arts Guild, started off as spinners and weavers, and they had so many people with other fiber arts interests that wanted to join and eventually did join that they made it much more inclusive. So you might want to revisit it if it's been that long. They might have decided that. Although I don't know, I hear that Vermont's just as bad for snotty artists as like Portland, Oregon.
It is. It's here we're in between two ski areas.
Yeah.
Okay, like Ben, if Ben wants to ski, he can go 45 minutes in one direction and get to J Peak, and then he can go 45 minutes in the other direction and get to Burke Mountain. Um, and the guild is actually out of the either either Troy or Jay, which is right there. Like if you're on the mountain, you can on Jay Peak, you can almost spit and you'd hit either one of them. Um, and they it's super snooty. Um, and we got the big lake, and the lake is about 14 miles from our house. And it, the lake actually is in both Vermont and Canada, and so they're trying to turn Newport into this big tourist destination. And there was a whole bunch of crap in the last 2 or 3, well, the last 4 or 5 years that have gone on with that whole thing, to the point where the guy who owned Jay Peak, he was requesting a lot of EB5 money. Now, for anybody who's not familiar with EB5, it's a program where a, anybody in the world can invest, I think it's $5,000 into a project in the US that will, in a depressed area, hence my little, you know, out back and beyond, that's going to bring in at least 25 jobs. Okay. And for that investment, they can get US citizenship. Well, hey,
Okay.
when you live in an area where most people are farmers or
In the
they
tourist business.
loggers, okay? I mean, this
Tourism is
is
big in Vermont too, but
excuse
that's
me?
seasonal. Tourism is big in Vermont too, but that's very seasonal.
It is. And then there's areas of Vermont which, like Burlington, that's lovely little mecca. I mean, all kinds of things to do and all kinds of businesses and big huge hospital and a big huge university. So there's a big skill set over there. Well, over here, you can make maple syrup, you can log, you can be a dairy farmer. Um, you can do something agricultural. Um, so he was collecting all this EB5 money to expand J Peak. Well, except really what he was expanding was his own pockets.
Oh, gee, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Because I mean, and I mean, he did use some of the EB5 money correctly, and they put in a big 18-hole golf course. Um, and they built a whole bunch of new condos, and they did do some upgrades to the ski area itself. And then they started getting greedy. Okay. Um, and they bought this whole block in Newport. And and I mean, this was a block of existing businesses with apartments over the top. Now, granted, the storefronts weren't, fresh and swanky. It was very little town Vermont. And they came in and they kicked everybody out.
Oh my
So,
God.
oh yeah, the businesses were told. I mean, they bought it. Businesses were told you need to vacate. The people who lived in the apartments, they were told they needed to vacate. They came in, they leveled it,
Did they put
and
anything there in return?
we have a hole
Oh, they're not doing anything to develop it?
because when it was discovered that he had embezzled all this money,
Jesus, they stopped him.
it, it, yeah, I mean, and I mean, the mess is still going on. We used to have um, a distribution center for, I think it was the teddy bear factory, and that was in Newport as well. And the teddy bear factory closed up shop there, and they bought this land and the building, and they were going to have this big um, biochemical company come in from Korea. Well, that all got hosed too. So between the feds and the state of Vermont, and we have had a hole in the center of Newport for, I think this is the third year.
Jesus.
And I mean, it's literally just a hole. But everybody now wants to, how can you revitalize a town that has a hole?
And they can't, and if he's in litigation with all of this and he's being prosecuted, they've probably frozen his assets.
Hmm.
You can't sell it and nobody can come in and take it over and do something with it. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, it's hard up here, but I mean, they still try and get in there, and they think right now, that it's the arts community that's going to do it. And there's this nice little shop called Mac Center for the Arts down in town. And hey, Natalia, and it- local artists can put stuff on consignment in there to the tune of, you get 40%, they get 60, unless
Ah,
unless you um, will donate your time and go in and work 4 days a month, and then it flips. You get 60, they get 40, and you go spend 8 hours a day, 4 days a month, going in there and working for free.
well, I can see donating your time, but that's just absurd.
It is. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's like New York City prices. And we're just okay. This is the way I dress. Matter of fact, this is one of my good shirts because it has no holes. Okay. I always try on Friday and make sure that I don't wear a hole that, or a shirt that has a hole in a very inappropriate spot, um, because unfortunately, a lot of my shirts, right here at the pocket,
It
is where
ripped.
I developed the hole, because I'm always throwing my phone in it, or
Yep.
car keys or whatever, and
Yeah.
and look where it falls. So I have to be very careful. Um, You know, so this is the kind of town that I live in. Getting dressed up to go out to dinner means you put on the shirt that doesn't have any holes in it, and you put on a pair of jeans that, well, it doesn't make any difference now today whether or not you have holes in your
Oh, you're
jeans anyway.
fashionable if they are. If you're
Well, yeah.
you're fashionable.
Well, the problem is my jeans that have holes in them usually are also surrounded by great big dirt stains. Um, I earn my holes, okay?
Well, that sucks. That really does.
So it's just it's craziness. But networking is important. You just got, I mean, if you live in an area where you can take advantage of something like what you have,
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
yeah, yeah,
I can see where it would be a huge benefit.
yeah.
I just can't see. Yeah, Natalia says, "Ha ha ha!" Extra ventilation. Yeah, I know. It's really good when I'm at the greenhouse and it's 100 degrees, and I get that little extra ventilation because. But it's so tracking time totally important.
Yeah.
There is going to be a Yarny bookkeeper school. Just realize that the Yarny bookkeeper has more irons in the fire uh,
Irons.
than most normal people.
Irons. Yeah.
Um, I mean, in addition to the software biz, I from early February through mid June, I work anywhere from 20, sometimes 30 hours a week down at the greenhouse. I have a huge garden. I like to can. Um, from just before Thanksgiving and right up until a few days before Christmas, I am the official bow maker down at the greenhouse during wreath season. Um, I have my own handmade business. I have Yarny Bookkeeper, and whatever else flight of fancy it comes my way. Sometimes I wonder how I manage to do it all. Because it's
I told you,
I,
you don't sleep.
I do.
A busy, like I said, a busy Nancy is a happy Nancy.
I am. It's like yesterday I spent a 10-hour day at the greenhouse, and it was just, I mean,
She was
I
so
didn't.
happy. I'm getting texts. I'm in a tank top and shorts, and it's 100 degrees in it.
What I left out was there's still 2.5 to 3 feet of snow all the way around the greenhouse.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's insulated. Okay. Well, before we go, because we've gone over badly, in regards to, sorry, something we discussed last week about our favorite needles, and I said Chiagu, and I was carrying on about how great the cables are on them. This I realized when I brought my mindless knitting in today. This is a Chiagu needle, and I don't know if you can see, but it's red, and it's a really, really, really tightly coiled middle like spring thing, but it's not springy. Uh, Sorry, that's my phone and it won't turn off. Anyway, they have no memory. You can coil them up and tie them into knots, and they always come out like that. And they don't get all twisty and turn into big loops and everything when you're knitting with them. They stay like this. I've got a sweater at home that's on a 60-inch one, and it's just like this. It's wonderful. They don't kink, they don't coil, they have no memory. They stay like this, and they're not real thick. They're about as thick as the cables on the knit picks that are plastic. And I just and they have really, really, really super sharp tips, and they're great for lace.
Wow.
Well, I think these are the lace ones. They are made for lace, but yeah, I just they're
Tell me how you spell that.
Chiago is Chiao, I believe, Goo. And they are made in China, but you know what? Your Eddie turbos are made over in the Netherlands, and your nitpicks are probably made in China too. So, but they're wonderful.
Now, wait a minute. I am not made in China, nor was I ever made in
No, I'm
China.
just saying the nitpicks needles that you use are probably made.
I know, but it's like everything that we see, we touch, we buy, we deal with is made in China. It's like I am so sick and tired of China. I am not made in China.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
am a
yeah. C H I
damned Yankee.
Chiagooo, Chiagoo. Yes, and I love them. They're wonderful. And you know what, Nancy? These are not as slippery as my Addies.
Really?
Yeah, they are not as slippery as my Addies. So you might go. You can get them in fixed links. I think this is a fixed link, or you can get them in interchangeable sets. They are not cheap. They're not quite as expensive as the Addies. Uh,
Okay, one
but
more time. CIA.
Chiagoo, Chiagoo, and you can get them on
Wow, that
Amazon.
looks weird. Just write it down on a piece of paper and look at it.
No, but that's what they're called, and they work. I love them. They're my favorite needles. And this is coming
Perfect.
from somebody who has two sets of Addy interchangeables. So,
I looked at a set of Addies. Actually, when Roxanne Brown and I went down to, we did a road trip to the Yarn Barn, which is what her
mhm.
husband called Webb's down in Massachusetts. I'm about 2.5, 3 hours from it. Um, and I looked at a set down there, and I looked at the price, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
These are not quite that expensive. And I love the cables, and you might like them. Like I said, they're not as slippery as like those Susan Bates aluminum ones
Uh,
or the Addies.
yeah, last thing I want is something that's going to come flying off. Yeah, sometimes the cat helps me, and I get this little foot, and whoosh. Uh,
Anyway, so there you go.
all right. Well, thank you for your words of wisdom, and no,
My needle obsession.
and your needle obsession. Yes. Um, because it's
Oh, and here's one of the clover hooks that Nancy was talking about last week.
yeah. Oh my
They're
god, I
really
love
wonderfully
those.
ergonomic.
Those are such a joy to work with. Um, I've tried like the tulips and some of the others that, well, they're more shaped like my pen,
Yeah,
and I mean, this for a pen is fine, although I do have one that I like a little better. Um, okay, this one is older than the hills, but it's triangular shaped, and
yeah,
there's three little pads. And that pad in there and that little indent, I don't know if you can see it. See,
yeah.
okay, that little indent is just like the most wonderful thing, and that's what's on that armor. There's that little tiny indent.
Well, the clovers, I don't know if you can see, have a flat side and
Yeah,
then a curved side. And if you're a crocheter that holds like a pencil, that's really good. But if you're me
that's
and you're a
me.
knife holder, it's good too. Okay, because I crochet like this. Nancy crochets like this.
Yeah, I crochet like I write.
Yeah, well, no, that's if I had been taught by somebody who was primarily a crocheter rather than primarily a knitter, I'd have probably learned that way too. But she was primarily a knitter, and she held her crochet hook like a knitting needle, and so that's how I learned. So, but the great thing about the clovers is you can use them very, very comfortably either. So,
Yeah, Natalia says she has some of these clovers. Um, I hope you enjoy them. I love them.
yep.
My clovers are kind of like my good Fiskars. Don't touch them. Um, okay, that's it for this week. Everybody have a great week. Sorry we ran over. We kind of got on a rant and it then got derailed and sidetracked. And I told
Yeah.
you about the hole that, you know.
Newport's big hole.
Oh yeah, if you're curious, get on Google and do a
I
Google search
Google,
for Newport, Vermont hole.
really? Okay, I'm going to have to do that. Hmm.
Yeah, you'll probably and they tend to get well, little towns, they all love gossip and dirt. Um, and boy, for 2 years, I swear, every time you picked up a newspaper, there was something about this whole scandal to the point of, will you just put the SOB in jail already?
No kidding.
You
Well,
know,
I got to give him. Well, and if he's not an American citizen, he may have flown down and they're having trouble, or flown the country and they're having trouble extraditing him.
no, he,
He's
well,
there?
he lives in New York.
Oh, well, then they're having
I,
trouble extraditing him.
I think actually I heard rumors that he lives in Trump Towers in New York, and that's all. That's where I'm going to end this conversation. Don't joke, because I am tired and I am punchy, and my mouth will just get away from me. You guys don't know me well enough yet for me to do that. So have a great week. We'll see you next week. Natalia, thanks for joining in. Janice, thank you. See you next week.
All righty,
Bye,
girl.
everybody.
Bye bye.